Good enough anyway, so.
Hey, Stephen, if you can hear us, will you give us a sound check, please?
I can hear you guys loud and clear.
Thank you, Stephen.
Where's Stephen? Is he out of town?
It's like,
Or,
On Zoom.
I know he's on Zoom, but I was wondering if he was doing something.
Sarah Winfield, you're good to go.
All right, thank you. At this time, I will open this workshop meeting with our clerk auditor, Gabe Wojtek, 3 p.m. on the 5th of November. Those present, Commissioner Hedin, Commissioner Hadler, Commissioner McCurdy, Commissioner McGann, Commissioner Martinez, Commissioner McCandless, and myself, Commissioner Winfield. We also have Administrator Mr. Tyner and Deputy Administrator Quinn Hall, who just stepped away, as well as Tess Parker, the HR in the audience, and Andrea. Forgot your last name.
Brand.
Brand. I apologize, Andrea.
Come on, everybody.
And Chantel as well. So Gabe, I will let you start us off with this and we will follow your lead.
Thank you, Chair. So I don't have a big presentation in mind for today. Mostly I want to just give an overview of the materials that are included in the packet and then cede the floor to Tess to present new positions or reclassifications. And I would expect that conversation and presentation to take up the better part of this hour that we have here. But I think just leading off with a little bit of an overview of what's in the packet is my goal right now. So this tentative budget was presented to you all by the 1st of November. And there's a formal action to adopt this tentative budget at you as the governing body. And then moving forward, there's a period of time whereby you may edit, revise, enter changes as you see fit. And then we'll have public hearings in order to allow the public to speak on this budget as it continues to evolve. And hopefully aiming for final adoption of a final budget, as well as the end of year amendment for 2025 at the second commission meeting in December. As for the end of year amendment, ultimately this last column, this last green column to the right, 2025 estimated end of year amendment is what is currently estimated to be entered or proposed as an amended budget. And then of course, the tentative budget presented here. There's some key features in this tentative budget document. A lot of improvements have been made in terms of cleaning up deadlines that were always displayed and making this pretty unruly to look at. Just cleaner formatting, and then in addition to these embedded links that you all, the commission or the public, can use to quickly refer to more additional detail as it relates to any line in terms of revenues, sales and use tax revenues, or department budgets as we saw them at the Budget Advisory Board, and then further revised as needed. On these department budgets, there's a note here that says orange shading indicates change post-Budget Advisory Board, in the effort of trying to maintain as much transparency as possible regarding changes that might have been made after that presentation in a public meeting. And then as you can remember, there's a button here at the top to go back to where you left off. So that's the tentative budget document. Next, here is a compilation of formal recorded comments made at Budget Advisory Board meetings. That was a process that we took, I believe it was 10 meetings starting in September. There's a YouTube link to the recording of those meetings. I have to finish timestamping in those links, each department report, just so that you can just as easily as possible refer back to every department budget presentation if you feel the need to review more closely or get any more potential additional information regarding the budgets entered into this tentative We also still have to get in the minutes from the final meeting as well as the YouTube link. I'll get those updated as soon as possible. I also decided to attach the meeting minutes in full towards the end of this document. My chief deputy, Danny Beth Jones, did a great job of very detailed minutes. So I thought it would be a useful reference for this process. Sales and use tax revenue projections. This summary document, in accordance with statute, revenue projections are to be accompanied in the tentative budget. Of course, that's entered into each line of the budget. So by virtue of it being entered into the tentative budget, that is such a projection. However, I am, of course, providing more background detail regarding the projections for sales and use taxes that are entered. You'll see in the tentative budget that Treasurer Kaufman has a method that we've used for some years now for entering in property tax related revenue projections. I have today updated this document to include a breakout for each of these tax types, each of these sales and use tax types that show monthly distributions dating back to 2021 and a chart showing those monthly distributions up here. But more importantly, total annual distribution, a chart here that shows a trend line, and where that trend line crosses at 2026 on the horizontal axis is that trend line that is painted by 23, 24, and 25 numbers. And so where that red trend line extrapolates out into 2026 and hits that 2026 mark is the figure that is currently entered in as a revenue projection for 2026 entered in the tentative budget. So there's a sheet here for each tax type for your review with the data used all there laid out. There's an October 2025. This is a sales and use tax revenue update that includes October 2025 numbers that we've got updated and cleaned up. This is a capital projects list, also according to statute, along with the tentative budget. It is to include a list of potential capital projects in the current year, as well as an estimate of capital projects that could be reasonably expected in the following three fiscal periods, or the following two fiscal periods from the one that we're preparing for the tentative budget. And so this is a process of gathering information from department heads and other departments that are requesting or offering information regarding large capital type expenses. So the first one is projects to be considered in 2026. That's 2 pages. And then there's a header for capital projects 3-year estimated schedule. Next, we have a document that I prepared that I just think is a useful overview comparing 2023 to 24, 25, and 26, specifically as it relates to the general fund. It's important to note when we're talking about a budget or a balanced budget or whatever machinations that we're talking about regarding really focusing on Fund 10, which is the general fund. All the other funds operate largely within their own restricted revenues, largely self-funded for the most part, not 100%. But really when we're talking, and obviously we want to maintain oversight and ensure responsible practices across all funds. But the general fund is really where the rubber meets the road in terms of how we're managing our restricted, unrestricted revenues and the main bulk of our expenses. But really wanted to offer up what the tentative budget has regarding how it compares to last year's opening budget, the ratio of these department budgets that are made up of salary and benefits, the amount of salary benefits in the general fund that make up the entire general fund cost, all sorts of things. I hope this is a helpful document. I prepared it in the hopes that it would help you all in your decision-making processes. Fund balance estimate, so each fund has a reserve balance, and these are pulled from financial statements directly from our accounting software, including some estimates because we have a couple months left in this year, and sometimes it's hard to pinpoint without further detail from department heads exactly how expenditures are going to land by the end of this year. So that's why it's important to say that this is an estimate, but it is the best estimate that I can come up with right now. And then so include what the reserve balances are at the beginning of this year, what impacts are looking to be for this year, and then results and what we're looking at moving forward, looking ahead. Again, I prepared this out of my own volition and because I anticipated that this is information that would be useful to you all in your decision-making processes. This is the MOA Tourism Advisory Board Transient Room Tax Tourism Related Convention and Cultural Activities recommendations as required by statute. I'm not sure if this should probably end up on as a formal action item on a future commission agenda. I would assume that would be appropriate so you all could accept and discuss as needed. But it's relevant to this entire conversation as a very principal revenue that exists at the county. And this board's recommendation obviously is important as well. And so that was a good solid 10-minute run through. And I think that's really the main thing that I wanted to accomplish today. If there are any burning questions, I think you all have found anyone that has come with me with questions up to now since I presented the tentative. I'm prioritizing the quickest response possible. I welcome any more, if there's any more information that I might be the best person to provide. I want to be useful in that process to you all. But ultimately, just let me know how I can help you all and your administration set up workshops to further suss out decision making and any adjustments that you may want to make.
That was thanks for preparing all that, Gabe.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
It's again helpful and I think more comprehensive and compact than we've had in the past.
Yeah, 100%.
Thank you. All right, without further ado, I would invite Tess Barger to come up and discuss the new positions and reclassifications and other such things that are included in the agenda packet. You want to use my machine or you got it?
I'm logged on to mine. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I will stop my share.
All right there. Hello, commissioners. I'll go ahead and start sharing and we will get right into it. All right, excellent. So to start off at last Friday's budget advisory meeting, I went ahead and ran through these presentations. We had some really great discussion, some really excellent additional ideas were brought up, questions, and then some additional asks about more information that would be beneficial to you all. Some of that has been sent out, some of it is still in the works of being put together and will be sent out, but it was a fairly swift turnaround from completing the BAB presentation and then getting all of these materials over to Dana to put in the packet. So again, not all of that information is available yet, but you will be receiving more. My primary goals of the presentations today are, in addition to, of course, providing the information available that I've provided to the BAB, is also hearing feedback from the commission on how you all would or options that you would like to consider in proceeding forward this year. So for instance, last year and in prior years, from my understanding, when it came to new positions and reclassifications, there was a survey sent out. Commissioners would essentially rank their priorities and provide justification for those priorities. There was some mixed feedback last year on the effectiveness of that. And so that's just an example, but I'd like to dig into some of those questions a little bit more so that I understand how to best support you all in making informed decisions this budget season. All right. So we'll first jump into the new positions and reclassification proposals presentation. And then after this, we'll go into the pay plan and cost of living adjustment presentation. So first we'll dive into new position requests. And what I'll preface is that these are the requests that we received as is. So I went ahead and we had the requests and the expectations of the information that we needed to include proposals, but we've not yet, we've not done any of our own filtering of or advancing of particular proposals. So that will be, ultimately, again, based on the conversations that we have today, we'll be able to outline some of the steps that you all would like to take in terms of being able to determine how you rank, prioritize, and advance certain proposals. There are several proposals that are also mandatory for reasons that I will expand on. And so with that, again, I'll flag those particular proposals. So the first proposal we'll go into is Old Spanish Trail Arena. Going into 2025 requested an additional maintenance technician position. They're re-requesting the position this year. The position would impact the general fund. And the amount of, and again, these are rough estimates. So how we estimate for new positions and backfills is we, of course, have a grade that's assigned to a position. Grades follow positions, and then steps in our chart follow people. So we estimate, typically, unless we have historical data that says otherwise, we estimate all of our vacant positions at a step 5, so roughly 10 years of relevant experience. And with our high deductible 240 plan, so one of our most commonly elected health plans for full-time positions. And that's how we're able to generate that estimate of what a new position would ultimately cost. The justification for the maintenance technician position at OSTA is, again, this position was first requested for year 2025 and is again being requested. Oftentimes the OSTA staff are responsible for covering a 7-day-a-week schedule. They are already over the $15,500 that were budgeted for overtime this year. Part of that is demand of events, and then also coupled with they are currently short-staffed. We've not backfilled one of their vacant technician positions that has been vacant since early July. And so other staff are having to pick up additional hours to account for that vacant position. In 2026 thus far, their event calendar is booked from every weekend starting in late February until mid-July. They have a little bit of a break, and then it starts again from the beginning of September through the end of November. So in addition to all of these weekends that they will be mandated to work to facilitate these already scheduled events, there will be additional events that are inevitably added, typically more private events that they add to the schedule, 1 to 6 months out. And so with this, the fact that on top of, that calendar of events, the fact that it is a public facility that's utilized 24/7 and that it's 65 acres large, the amount of work that even on a day-to-day basis, the staff is responsible for carrying out is very significant. And so that is the basis for the maintenance technician request. And I'll also preface that whatever is beneficial to you all, whether it be that there are discussions along the way, or I kind of just can, run through whatever would be most beneficial to you all in your time today, you just let me know and I'm happy to facilitate that. Very good. I'm gonna click to the next slide then. We're gonna keep this moving and grooving. So
Tess, can you remind me, how many other of the similar positions are there at OSTA? Are there 2 other maintenance tech positions or just?
that's a great question. So they have, they already have 3 other technician positions. One of them is vacant.
Yeah.
They have an administrative assistant position that helps also kind of backfill with the other needs, and then assistant director.
The assistant director takes on a lot of that. Okay. And they're at the same position grade, the other.
That's correct. Yes, exactly. It's the exact same grade and then position description.
Okay.
So I know this doesn't fit within the new employees, but so with that backfill position, currently, we haven't been letting anybody rehire, right, Mark? So, but with our budget, the tentative budget that Gabe has prepared for us, does that include that position that's empty in that budget?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so our vacant positions for currently for 2025 that are vacant and have already been approved are gonna be in our budget for 2026.
That's correct. I don't believe any indication was given that those positions were eliminated. They were just.
Okay, just making sure the difference between, we have positions that need filled, and then we also have new positions there.
Exactly. Yes, thank you. And this is for an entirely new position, not a back. That's a great clarification. Thank you very much.
And I'll just say that I was a big advocate. Angie was not gonna ask for this, but I'm really pushed for this in the sense that we have been really pushing for OSTA to be utilized more. And they, staff are working super hard. And I think you would agree with that, Mike. Their work, Angie works every weekend and my concern is she has already lost a staff member this year that just kind of fizzled out. And that's my concern is we have them working that much. My concern is losing them and the cost of having to replace and retrain and all.
Thank you all very much. This next request is one of those that, again, I indicated I would flag. So this request is out of the Grand County Attorney's Office. It's for a part-time victim advocate budgeted at approximately 25 hours per week. The justification for this position is in the past number of years, the Grand County Sheriff's Office, Attorney's Office, and Children's Justice Center has had a memorandum of understanding with Moab City PD for their victim advocate program to provide victim services to the victims of those agencies. That MOU will not be renewed, and this is going to create a gap in victim services that we are mandated to fill. And so with that, this request would allow for a victim advocate that would serve Sheriff's Office, Attorney's Office, and CJC in order to ensure that victims are receiving services provided by Grand County.
It's a mandated position.
Yes.
And obviously,
Yes, we're required to provide victim services, and with that MOU not being renewed, then we do have a requirement to fill that gap ourselves.
It's also the position that
Yeah.
typically has been a $20,000 MOU with the city of Moab, but in an effort to offset dispatch fees, they've raised that to nearly $300,000. So
yeah, I'm aware of that. Yeah.
And if anyone has any questions on it, I'm also here to answer any questions on the position and the ask.
Thank you, Attorney Stocks. All right. This next request comes specifically from the Film Commission Director, but out of the Moab Office of Tourism. And it is for a part-time film commission assistant. And so the justification for this is that currently for the Moab to Monument Valley Film Commission, there is only one staff person that is devoted to activities under that film commission, which is the film commission director. And so the establishment of an assistant would allow for increased support to the film commission director, as well as the opportunity to facilitate the opportunity for additional institutional knowledge to be held by more than just that one staff person. And I would be happy to. I know in the budget advisory board meeting, I passed it over to Commissioner Martinez as an individual who's been involved in the MTAB meetings, because these presentations and requests have gone before MTAB, and that's been a separate process from what's happening today, although of course they dovetail together. But Commissioner Martinez, I don't know if you'd like to provide any additional information like you did in the BAB about this.
No, I mean, there's not too much I have to bring from the commission. I'm sorry, from the MTAB board on this. They recognized the value that the film commission brings into this community, and they saw the value of having this. There was two things. There was this, and also a raising fund. So they were both supportive of both.
This assistant would be specifically for the film commission, or would this assistant be an assistant for both of those entities?
So the way that the proposal has been presented to me thus far is that it is specific to the film commission. I do know that earlier this year, there was initially some discussion and the potential of a request for an administrative assistant that would either be part-time or full-time and would serve the entire office, but this specific proposal that was provided to me is for the film commission.
Thank you.
There was discussion at that MTAB meeting, this might be the best, decision for the new director to make. When they go ahead and jump into that department, how they best want to organize that office.
So what your suggestion is potentially kicking it down the road until the new director's hired and letting them make the call on this?
Correct.
That would come under TRT funds, right? Or is it
Yes,
TRCCA, right?
No, it would be TRT.
Okay.
Yep, TRT promotion. Film is now included in the TRT.
Okay.
Promotion.
Thank you all very much. And also as it indicates in this, it's the position request is for a part-time position budgeted approximately 25 hours weekly. All right, this next request comes out of our noxious weeds department. Currently, we have a 4-year grant cycle that we are complete. We're coming up to finishing our first year of the grant. It's the Community Wildfire Defense Grant. And so in this 4-year grant, it was outlined a number of goals and objectives that the county would complete over the course of 4 years. Already two positions have been established through this grant: an invasive species, a full-time year-round invasive species technician position, and then a fuels reduction coordinator, which is also a full-time year-round position, to continue working towards the grant goals and objectives that were outlined. Additional goals were that we could continue to expand the fuels reduction programming and add this full-time fuels reduction technician, which would be year-round full-time, and support the fuels reduction coordinator, both during seasons where we have a seasonal fuels reduction crew, and then also during the shoulder seasons where we do not have a crew working. From what we've been able to find, and certainly we've, will be wrapping back to the grant administrator, is that the salary is reimbursable from the grant. The benefits would need to be county funded. And so that's why there's that breakup that indicates what the financial impact would be for the general fund versus what would go towards the grant reimbursement.
Would not accepting this position jeopardize any other part of that grant?
So my understanding is yes, and that's because the grant, as it was outlined, was that the funds that we requested were to essentially continue to build out our fuels reduction programming by building out our team in order for us to complete projects within the community that reduction. So we would be falling behind the outlined objectives of the grant if we don't backfill, or if we do not create, some of these positions that would be positions that are actually carrying forward those grant objectives.
And we're in which year of the 4-year cycle?
We're finishing up on our first year, so it will end in 2029.
So we've finished 1 year. This would be year 2. And is the next position the same grant?
It is, yes. All right, excellent.
So would that negate the grant entirely if we said no thank you to this position?
That's an excellent question. That would be one that I would need to work with the director more on. Certainly there are, at least during my previous experiences with multi-year grants, sometimes just depending on short staffing, et cetera, you may need to make some amendments and modifications to a grant.
Yeah.
The degree to which we would be able to do that, however, would certainly, I imagine, depend on what the grant administrators would deem appropriate and allowable.
And how many other positions is it funding other than the 2 that are proposed right here? There's current positions as well?
So there, we established an invasive species technician and then a fuels reduction coordinator position this year from this grant.
Okay, so it's paying for 2 currently, or it paid for 2 in the 2025 year, and we be looking at paying then the 4 positions for next year?
So it would be 4 to 8, and I can actually perfectly segue into this next
Okay.
one. So for the seasonal fuels reduction technician position that is being requested, it would be requested for up to 4 seasonal crew members.
Mhm.
And so each crew member would be budgeted at approximately 900 hours annually. That would be during their peak season for projects. Again, we would be able to get reimbursed for the salaries, so the wages of those positions, the benefits being specifically workers' compensation, payroll, taxes. The county would take on those costs. And again, the request is for up to 4 seasonal crew members.
And then the benefits estimate is per crew member? Okay, so we're talking about 8,000 for the 4.
About $34,000 total.
Right. Okay.
Yep. And these seasonal crew members would report to the fuels reduction coordinator. That is already an established position that we have within the noxious weeds department structure.
Okay.
Do we have any additional questions on this item before we move on?
I guess one more, just to help me totally understand this, or would this grant be looking to make any further hires next year? Do you know?
I'm not aware of that, but that's something that's a great question, an additional one that I can work
Okay, that'd be great to know too.
with the supervisor on.
Already project plans for a 5-member team?
Yes, I will be transparent and reflecting that I don't know the ins and outs of the projects that have been out.
I didn't figure you would have, but I was like, these tabs can find out.
So, yeah, so they had, I think that to go back to Jock's point, I think there's about 30,000 that they're gonna basically have to turn back in for 2025. That was unused because they were unable to fill that lead and then the 4 positions right there. And I think we're looking at about 60,000 for next year. The reason that they were awarded the grant in the first place is that they felt that this crew did have the projects and were able to complete those tasks that they applied for in the grant. I think that there are the projects there to do. The work is there. It's just, I think we have 5 employees that we're looking at it, and basically 34,000 that would be coming out of the county right there, and then a total of $152,000.
Yeah.
If you're kind of looking at it, that's
Right.
like the basic.
It was like 30 grand for 5 employees.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty good deal.
Yeah, sure.
That's what you're looking at.
Okay.
Thank you all very much. And so those are the new proposal requests that we have. We'll go ahead and move into the reclassification requests. And again, I'll flag the reclassification that is mandatory for us to consider this year. So first, in terms of reclassifications, and this is really more of a salary adjustment, not reclassification, but with elected positions, I went ahead and included this in it. So last year, and there's been discussion of continuing to do this every year to ensure that we are maintaining at least average compensation for our elected positions, is Treasurer Chris Kaufman was extremely helpful and put together a spreadsheet of all 5th to 1st class Utah counties, excluding Uinta County, and that was because they had not done a reevaluation or adjustment to their elected salaries for approximately 10 years. So they were an outlier and not necessarily, they were going to skew the data, but calculated the average compensation for each of these elected positions. Caveat is that for the surveyor position, there wasn't enough comparable data to look at. And so what he did was he averaged essentially the average increase to the other elected positions and apply that to what the surveyor position's increase would be. And so this is one of those standardized requests that may be included in future new position reclassification proposals, just to ensure that we are every year assessing, are we compensating electeds at a competitive and comparable wage to how electeds are being compensated elsewhere in the state of Utah within county classes that are relevant to ours. And so if all of these adjustments. And what I'll also preface is that the sheriff, county attorney, and commission positions were not included in this because those averages were actually higher in Grand County than the state, and so it would require reductions in pay, which is not something that we would be looking at. So it was assessed for assessor, recorder, treasurer, clerk, auditor, and surveyor for 2026. And the full fiscal impact of increasing all of these electeds positions to the average of fifth to first class electeds and comparable positions would be a total of about $12,500.
Based on Gabe's proposal to separate out the clerk and the auditor, so that I know quite a few counties have that position separated out. Is this the average of just the counties that have a clerk / auditor position? Do you know?
That's an excellent question. And Treasurer Kaufman, if you are available and would like to explain more of your methodology behind that, I'd be greatly appreciative. He did explain it to me. And so my understanding was that, well, actually, I'll let him go ahead. He's going to explain it better than I can.
Sure. First of all, can you hear me?
We can. Thanks, Chris.
Okay, great. When the position is split between a clerk and an auditor, I took an average of those two salaries and put that in for the clerk auditor line for the purposes of our average. I will say that in many counties, they're paid exactly the same. So there wasn't necessarily a lot of averaging I had to do. And there's another situation where we have a few counties with combined treasurer and recorders. And in that case, I took the salary for the treasurer recorder and used that for both the treasurer and recorder separately for the purposes of our averages.
Do you think it would be fair to look at just the counties that have a clerk / auditor, since the duties are more, I guess, probably greater and giving us that data too?
Mm-hmm.
So last year I did an analysis on how if there are a lot of differences in the salary, whether they're split or combined, and I could pull that up again. I haven't looked at it for a while, but there was not a big difference between counties where they're split and where they're combined.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you, Chris.
Excellent. Do we have any additional questions on this slide? All right, thank you all. And then I'll go ahead and continue through the individual position reclassifications. And so the first one is for the clerk auditor position. And the justification for this is that pursuant to State Code 1753-101, there's a threshold at which time or under which a county clerk can act as an ex officio auditor. We've very far surpassed the threshold. And so if we are to continue keeping the clerk auditor's office together, the request is for the clerk auditor is that there's a salary increase that comes with that to compensate for the additional duties, responsibilities, and demands that are placed on the clerk auditor's combined office. And the full fiscal impact of that would be $8,514 with a salary adjustment of approximately $7,000. This next position reclassification is one that, again, I'll flag as mandatory. And so during our FAA audit earlier this year, it was indicated that we are required to have an operations manager position as part of our departmental structure at Canyonlands Regional Airport. This request is to, instead of adding a new position, and what I'll preface as well is that an operations manager was a new proposal request that was provided in 2025 by the airport. Wasn't approved for going into 2025. Now that we're in a position where it is mandatory, in order to account for the fact that we are experiencing concerns pertaining to our budget, it is being proposed as a reclassification instead, so that there's less of a fiscal impact, and we would be reclassifying one of our two lead operations specialist positions to an operations manager for an estimated total fiscal impact of $13,359. And we are required to put this operations manager position into effect by December 31st of this year.
Is that person already in place right now? We just give them that. Okay, thanks.
Just thumbs up along with that one.
Excuse me?
I was like, when do we decide specifically on that one instead of putting?
When do we, I apologize.
Yeah, I was like, can that be put to a single decision, be put in the next meeting? Get that moved along faster or?
I think it needs to go just like we have it, right?
Okay.
That's part of the budget process.
All right, thank you all.
To Tessa's point though, could we not, if, once the budget passes on December 16th, tentatively, would we not, do we have to make that position start on December 31st instead of January 1st? Does that 1 day difference make a difference?
That's an excellent question. I would certainly want us to defer to the airport director to get an answer to that, but I can follow up with him to clarify that. I know that.
Because if the 1 day puts us out of compliance, I don't, that's an easy fix.
Definitely. Yeah, thank you for calling that out, When I'll check in with the airport director about that. All right, excellent. So this next position request is also from Canyonlands Regional Airport, and the request is to reclassify the airport administrative assistant from a part-time to a full-time position. The justification for this is that the airport's billing has become a lot more complex since they started following their airport leases as written, and they're also working to establish additional revenue streams. And with this, the additional administrative work that's come with it can't be accomplished by a part-time individual. What I will say is that a creative idea that was proposed during the budget advisory board meeting is that it's if we essentially need additional hours to go towards this work, as opposed to reclassifying the current assistant from part-time to full-time, perhaps another option that may be kinder to the budget, but also still accomplish the goal of providing additional administrative support to the airport is establishing another part-time position, because ultimately that would have less of a financial impact by approximately $30,000. And so that's I wanted to share that with the commission, that was an idea that was discussed in the budget advisory board.
And again, that's a position that's currently full that we
That's correct.
hire another part-time person or move that.
Exactly, or reclassify the current part-time employee to a full-time employee. And there would be no grade changes to that. It would simply be moving them up to 40 hours a week with benefits, with full-time benefits. All right, this next position reclassification is out of the Moab Office of Tourism for the Film Commission Director. The request, my understanding is how it has been presented in MTAB has been with a salary amount, which is a little bit different than sometimes we do with grades. And so I translated over to grades because that's the structure in which we reclassify positions. And so for this position to be reclassified for the salary adjustment from the current, and what I'll say too is that this position would, when I have the current, what I mean is for the current table, it's the projection of what the position will be making in 2026, factoring in if they are eligible for a merit increase and when that merit increase would go into effect. So the position's salary increase that was requested was to increase the salary to $115,000 annually. I can't quite make that fit into our grade and step chart. And so the best that I could get was at about $114,000. And that would adjust this position's grade from a 12 to a 15. This reclassification, this position was reclassified last in 2024 from a grade 9 to a 12. And so we would be, if this reclassification went forward, then it would be reclassifying it by an additional 3 grades.
So this position received a similar reclassification just last year.
2 years ago.
Entering 2 years ago, yes, entering into 2024, it went into effect January 1 of 2024.
What are some of the other grade 15 positions in the county that's a high grade?
It's a great question. Grade 15 is actually, interestingly, for whatever reason, not one of our grades that's commonly used. But a number of,
16 or
yeah, exactly. So for instance, our associate planner is a grade 15. But some of our directors are grade 14s. Our most common director grade is a grade 16. So again, it's a little, and I can provide comparables as well. So grade 15, for whatever reason, is somewhat underutilized. But our directors range from grades 12 up to 20, depending on a variety of factors, team size, level of, skill, education, et cetera, that's required to take on a position, responsibility, et cetera.
What are we advertising the MOT director position at?
As a grade 18.
The attorney has a question. When we adjusted this salary previously, did we do a salary survey or a study when we looked at it last time? I'm just trying to refresh my recollection on that.
That's an excellent question, Attorney Stocks. My understanding is that there's been some salary data provided. I can't speak to the specifics that went into that reclassification.
We did not do a comprehensive salary survey.
Okay, thank you. And my understanding is that the county has not done a comprehensive salary survey since 2021, and even during that 2021 salary survey, not all positions were reassessed actually. So some of our positions have not actually had a salary survey conducted for their particular role since pre-2021. All right. This next position reclassification is out of the Greene County Active Transportation and Trails Department. It's for the OHV Trail Ambassador, current position that we have. There is a grant that has already been requested and awarded for 2026. In the grant, it was requested that we would be able to adjust the job description, roles, and responsibilities of this position to expand it past just the current roles and responsibilities of the trail ambassador to an OHV trail coordinator. And with the additional responsibilities and duties assigned, the request is to adjust the grade of the position from a 6 to an 8. The grant covers the salary adjustment. We would need to cover the difference in benefits, and that difference would be $1,311 approximately.
Oh, God.
Do we have any additional questions on this? Great. All right. Excellent. And then the final reclassification proposal that we have for today is for the Sand Flats director. The current grade of this position is a 14, and the request is for an adjustment to a grade 16. Sand Flats director job description has significantly expanded since it was last formally revised in 2017 to include larger trail systems, larger budget, greater fiscal responsibility, more significant partnerships, et cetera. And so with the significant expansion of this job description since 2017, and the fact that this position is one of those that was not reassessed during a salary survey in 2021, the request is for that adjustment, that 2-grade adjustment to be applied to this position. Great. Do we have any questions on this proposal?
That's not paid out of the general fund.
Correct. This is not paid out of the general fund. Thank you for pointing that out. It's out of Sand Flats Fund, so Fund 70.
Did you go through, I think we were talking about in the budget advisory board meeting, going through and finding if there were any other positions that had not been reclassified since 2017?
I haven't had a chance to go through all of our positions, but I can certainly guarantee you that particularly for the positions that have had, extensive tenure, that there are quite a few that have not been reclassified. And what I'll say as well is reclassification is in and of itself is not necessarily the solution. What I more so see is, you know, an objective that we need to have is to recomplete a salary survey, because our current ranges assigned to each grade may need to actually be what's adjusted. So maybe a position stays a grade 16 after we do a salary survey, but the minimum to maximum of a grade 16 has been adjusted accordingly. Thank you. Oh, that's okay.
We would want to do that while we're in this process, would we not? I mean, I certainly think it's optimum that we look at Andrea's salary when it's been 8 years, but we wouldn't want just one individual. If there's 10 out there, we need that information, I would say, for this budget cycle.
I think
For other employees, if they're in possibly the same situation.
I probably wouldn't be a possibility for this budget cycle though, but I think that we should put on our plans for next year for sure.
And thank you. That's an excellent point. And what we've been, you know, certainly discussing is we're certainly due for a salary survey, with the last one having been completed in 2021. Every several years, up to 5 years, is certainly recommended. And so a more holistic, comprehensive approach could be us looking at putting it into our plans and budgeting for us to have an external agency complete a comprehensive salary survey for us.
Would you be able to get that to us for this budget? I mean, because that's more realistic to get that into this budget than an actual be done for this year.
Yes, absolutely. I'll work on that.
That's where I was going. Yeah, thank you for the clarification.
Excellent. Thank you all very much.
And so is that all that you have then? Ms. Barger? I'm just looking at our time and trying to make a
Yes.
decision on what we're gonna do.
No, I appreciate it. I'm happy to go ahead and yes, so I'll go ahead and this is all added, but we're trying to move all of our director, assistant director, chief deputies, office managers, supervisors to an exempt status for uniformity. Currently, we have about 50% non-exempt and 50% exempt. And in order to ensure that we have, again, that uniformity, continuity, that we go ahead and have everybody within those types of positions considered exempt.
Perfect.
All right, great. And then I'm happy to, and thank you all so much for all the excellent questions. I know that we didn't have time to go over the cost of living adjustment presentation. And so I happily, you know, come back to do that at another point or whatever you all determine is most helpful to your process.
The way I see this is just gonna be an ongoing budget week workshop. Meeting by meeting moving forward, so I'd like to suggest that we put that on the next one, and then I've got a few things that I would like to see if it's possible to request before the next meeting, and then if there's any other questions that we go around. You know, the table, so if that's okay with you, move that, and Gabe, if that's fine with you.
I'm ready to record any requests here.
Okay. But one that I have is it possible to get this budget in an Excel spreadsheet? It takes an awful lot of calculations with a calculator when possibly an Excel spreadsheet would allow us to work back and forth sometimes here.
Very easily, yeah.
And then the other one, I wanted to do a request and an update regarding the administrative fee that has been discussed. And it's applied, I think, to the 4 different departments.
So I guess we should clarify, like. So I created a proposal. We talked about it 15 days ago. The next step is for there to be an alternative presented to the proposal that I entered into the tentative budget. That's where I stand on it.
So that's kind of what I'm in the process of.
Sorry.
And what I did was I reached out to Seth Ovison on it to get a little bit of a background. I also reached out to the county attorney on it. But any administrative request out of restricted funds needs to come with a spreadsheet backing up that request, was what I was made to understand by Mr. Ovison. And so what I would like to do in the time moving forward is remove those admin fees and come up with where our budget would sit without those in there. And there's rational methodology, excuse me if I'm mispronouncing that, to go through to put in an actual request to change those admin fees on reserved funds. But what I think would be beneficial moving forward in our budget is if we had one chart that has line by line in it, everything that we want to consider from Ms. Brand's raise to any other employee, line by line as we go through. So that as we see and start adding these numbers in, because we're pulling out of the general fund to meet our budget as presented, correct?
Yes.
And so when we add in, let's say, I would like to be able to see that in our document and we can have a discussion and the commission can say, okay, let's give a thumbs up to the COLA or a thumbs down, whichever way that was, and go line by line item through those. I don't see any way if we don't have those individually listed out, how we're gonna be able to work through all of them. And I'm hoping that I'm making sense here.
So something of a live calculator that has a list of decision points. And when you enter in impact, some sort of figure in or not, it sort of updates the bottom line.
Totally on an
think-
impact, and it would just make it easier because we've got so many different documents here. And really the bottom line is what's this doing to the general fund? And can we justify that? And I think that will have to be done at this level clearly, but I'm trying to simplify the process and maybe that would also allow some discussion outside of here that would help to move this along when people have one that's important to them that we see we get it added in there. And yes, Mr.
Attorney's good.
Oh,
And I will say the administrative fees, all of the methodology and the derivation has been shared with commission administration. So that's been made available.
They don't come out.
okay, then I would say that on that one, we want to get that out to the commissioners to be able to look at that as well. That was my understanding. It was just moved up to 10% is what I saw there. And so that's where my research went on it. But on the other one, being able to add these in as we go and see what that's doing to our budget. And really what I guess I'm getting at is what it's doing to the request of additional funds out of the general fund every time we do math here. And if anybody wants to add on to that suggestion or have suggestions your own, I'm trying to simplify this process and bring it down to where we can work through them line by line.
Would the Excel sheet be like live calculator, like you said? Can we do that in discussion? Just show us like on the Excel sheet, put in a different figure and it changes the numbers. I mean,
That's what we're talking about.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's what.
there might be a simplified version of it though,
Yeah.
that we can see
Right.
on one page.
Yeah.
And it can be something that we can add things to and work together to,
Yeah, 1 or 2 pages, whatever it adds up to. And yes, Ms. Brand.
I just wondered, the main reason I came today was I wanted to know what was happening with the proposed administrative fees to the departments that are outside of the general fund. So I wanted to just know when that might be discussed in a future budget workshop so that I can attend. And
Say the very next one.
okay, I know that Cody McKinney would like to attend that as well, because he has some questions and concerns as well. So he couldn't be here today because he has a Corps of Engineer meeting, but I know that we're going.
I would say it's probably on the top of our list. I mean, I've just mentioned 3 things and the Excel spreadsheet isn't one that requires any discussion on other than it just probably puts a workload on Clerk Auditor Wojtek. So
I just think it would be really great if there were if like some alternatives were developed in anticipation of the next conversation, because it's going to be hard to actually reach a resolution unless there's sort of a counter. And that's really what I've been welcoming.
okay.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that. I wasn't aware of that scenario, but I'm glad to do that. Maybe we talked about it the other day and it flipped my mind, Gabe. So that's fine. I think we can come up with some of those. Great.
Don't forget the attorney.
Yes, Attorney Stocks.
So, and maybe for those, this is the benefit for both the commissioners and the public. So Clerk Auditor Wojtek, essentially we're putting that admin fee on some of those accounts that come in with the restricted funds. That may increase the budget for that department, but then those funds that are paid into the county go into the general account. And then that would, in some ways, help increase how much money that we would have accessible in the general fund. Am I misunderstanding that?
Yeah, it's not, but it's not meant to be a mechanism to. It's only meant to be a mechanism to offset expenses that are incurred in the general fund. It's not a mechanism to make money for the general fund.
Correct.
That's not the purpose of it.
Right, and I'm not saying that it is. I'm saying this is a mechanism, like for USU, when we worked with them, they took a percentage, and then those amounts help offset the amount of money that, let's say, HR has, because HR assists those departments with additional services. So although it is something that is increasing a budget's bottom line, it does help offset the costs for HR. So it's not necessarily, I don't know how, I don't necessarily perceive it as a negative. That's why I'm trying to understand. So I'm just noting that. And then I think that's part of the conversation. And then the second part, I guess, is just determining the percentage and then just applying it uniformly. And so it doesn't matter what percentage we set, that amount's going to be is going to be taken off of those monies that come in to help offset the HR cost. And I'm just making sure that I understand it correctly and that the public can understand when we talk about these admin costs, that this isn't funds that we were sending outside the county. It's funds that we're offsetting the weight and the expense of assisting those agencies that, but for Grand County's HR services, they wouldn't have their own independent HR services.
Right, and it's not just limited to HR services, but yeah, that can be all brought out further.
Correct.
Yeah, no, I understand the reasonableness of putting those charges onto the departments. The rub that I have, or where I see the problem, and I think where maybe even coming from Seth Overson is it can't be a percentage that I see that could be applied straight across unilaterally. There has to be accounting that goes along with it. And so, I mean, just like when I put miles on my car, for work, I'm like, I keep track. I'm like, I drove from here to here and I put down those miles. And at the end of the year, I have to account for those miles if I want to take that off on my taxes. I think that same principle needs to be applied to each one of these departments if we're going to go ahead and do that. And I think that's what he's talking about, is the accounting of that, we can't just, it's not a university where we can just put a straight 10% on this, or an 8% or a 4%. And say this is the industry average. I think there has to be accounting because these are restricted funds.
And I think that we can carry this into the next one. I think that with our Board of Equalization and other things that we've got to move forward here, I would like to suggest a quick recess if folks want it, or.
Wonderful.
All right, so we will end the workshop then at 4:03.
Thank you.
And come back here in 5 minutes to start with the Board of Equalization.
Yes.
The county drives up, oh, okay,
With jump seats in the back?
All right, it's 4:09.
Might not have room at the,
Board of Equalization special meeting, November 5th, 2025. Those present, Commissioner Dean, Commissioner Adler, Commissioner McCurdy, Commissioner McGann, Commissioner Martinez, Commissioner McCandless, myself, Commissioner Wingfield, Administrator, Mr. Tyner, and Deputy Administrator, Mr. Hall, Clerk Auditor, Gabe Wojtek. And so with that, we will skip our first general business action item, which is the approval of the minutes. Clerk Auditor has said that he will have two of those at the next meeting we can approve simultaneously. And we will move on to the second item, which is the approval of hearing office recommendations on 2025 property tax appeals. And do you have any explanation, or do we just want to vote them in, sir?
I'll give a short little overview of this. Folks in July received their tax valuation notices, which include the updated valuation for the current tax year on their property. And so then they're offered an opportunity to appeal that valuation to Board of Equalization. County Commission contracts with a gentleman named Randy Kelly as a hearing officer. And so basically what happens is, for many folks who request an in-person hearing, they come forward into these chambers and make their case for why they feel like their evaluation should be different. And Assessor Swayze, who I don't think is here right now, makes their case for the evaluation that her office calls on property, and the hearing officer makes a determination. So what's displayed in this determination chart that's being considered for approval are changes or not that the hearing officer determined were appropriate given all of the information that was presented in hearings. I've got these broken out into different categories for type of change. Some of these happened outside of the confines of the hearing, such as software errors. Also, primary to secondary and secondary to primary are often a result of just folks filing the appropriate paperwork and supporting documentation to prove that change. We usually see a lot of these secondary to primaries because obviously those are taxed at a much less rate. And then a lot of no change as well. Access was given to the commission to every full appeal file. So if there was any written prepared information associated with the appeal, that was the commission had access, or this Board of Equalization had access to those appeal files that associate with the lines in this chart. And overall, we see a decrease both in the market value and taxable value, and factored in with the certified rate that you all certified in June of this year. It does show an approximate property tax collection decrease of $39,829.35. It's important to note that that doesn't necessarily mean that we take that hit in revenue. Ultimately, when a certified rate is calculated and proposed for 2026, it takes into account appeal changes that were made in the previous year. So it kind of has a way of more or less washing it out, is my best way of explaining that. So it's not just a direct hit in that way. Once these approvals are made, my office will send out a determination letter to each of these property owners, informing them of the determination, and then also laying out and outlining instructions if they wish to forward a further appeal to the Utah State Tax Commission for the valuation on their property. One last little detail is that appeal applications were accepted for the first time via an online application process, and I'm proud to have been able to offer that convenience to property owners. Thank you.
All right, looking for a motion to approve. Yes,
I'll make a motion to approve the Board of Equalization as the
The hearing officer.
appeal determinations for the 2025 year. Did I read them out?
I think I put as per, I have
No, it didn't show it in there, a motion.
oh shoot, I had one in there, but there's not like an agenda file, I guess.
As presented.
I think I had something as presented, yeah.
As presented.
All right, motion by Commissioner McCandless, second by Commissioner Adler. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion passes unanimously. With closing this meeting,
Yeah,
do you then still have to restart the video or?
No, it's fine.
Okay, all right. So with that, I will close this Board of Equalization meeting at 4:15. And we will move into our regular commission meeting, and I will call that to order now at 4:15, and we will start with our pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I forgot to mention, those present are the same as we're here for the BOE meeting. And now we're waiting on the sheriff. We've got a presentation that he would like to do. I brought a posse with me.
As everyone.
I don't read, Sarah. So. What do you know, Sarah? You're trying to embarrass her.
You're doing a good job.
So on behalf of the Grant County Sheriff's Office, we would like to present you with a civilian medal of appreciation. Sarah has been an invaluable asset to the county. For many years, she consistently goes above and beyond in her efforts, from coordinating community recycling initiatives to assisting individuals in need of support. Her dedication is exceptional. She insists that she's on call 24/7, 365. The sheriff's office has called her at all hours, and she always responds immediately with a willingness to help. Sarah has always shown her compassion and eagerness to assist, helping clean up her Jeep Safari, or raging and facilitating transportation, food, and clothing to our vulnerable population. Most recently, Sarah has initiated and developed additional programming resources for the Grant County Jail, helping to provide assistance for homeless persons and prevention to those that are incarcerated. And so it's my honor, and these guys wanted to be a part of this, so you guys can come up here too, and we'll take a photo.
Yeah.
That we got this nice little, that's the least that we could do. And so we wanted to give you this.
Oh.
and Take a nice photo.
Thank you very much. My honor. And these folks are like family to me. So are you all. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
What's the least we can? We appreciate it.
Thank you, Sarah, for all you do. I enjoy having the availability to call Sarah also whenever something's going on, and we do that back and forth over different things here in the community, but I really appreciate the fact that you are available. It's a sign of your heart.
Oh, we're happy to, and I've perfected the art of sounding wide awake at 3 o'clock. Hey, what's going on? Thank you all very much.
No, thank you. You're an asset to the community, Sarah. Right. With that, we will start our 4 PM citizens to be heard, which we're a few minutes late on. If we have anyone that would like to speak up, please. And we'll start in the lobby here, and then I'll call for online. Yeah, no volunteers. All right, is there anybody online that you're aware of?
No.
4 PM,
This is new.
citizens to be heard. That's all right. Well, with that, we will move on. We will also have an opportunity if somebody shows up late to speak at 6 p.m. or as close as we can be to that time. So thank you. And with that, we will move into our first public hearing, which is a proposed text amendment to 6.5.5A4 permitted signs, freestanding signs. Mr. Yates, County Engineer. Oh, and it's like it's Mr. Jackson.
Andrew Jackson with Horax,
Yes.
presentation. In plain English, the applicant's building a convenience store or gas station out at Crescent Junction. And when it came to get the sign permit, realized that he can only go 24 feet high. And so he requested a variance, and the administrative judge on the variance stated that would be a zoning text change by variance, which isn't permitted by state code because they're two different processes. So he's come in and requested that the county code for on-premise signs be amended to allow up to 65 feet in the highway commercial zone along I-70. So we have other highway commercial zones that it wouldn't be applicable to, and we have other property along I-70 it wouldn't be applicable to. So it's just the highway commercial in a corridor of I-70. And basically, we're looking at anything within 350 feet of the right-of-way. And it's typically what you would see in most places. I can go into more detail if you like.
I think that's great, and this doesn't even require a motion at this time. We will just leave the public hearing open until 5 p.m. on Wednesday, November 12th, and then there will be a vote at the following meeting.
I have a question, Andrew.
Yes.
It'd be interesting, you said it was just in the highway commercial along Highway 70. How much of the frontage along I-70 is highway commercial?
When I was just looking at the basic zoning map, because some of the property is federal lands or state lands,
Sure.
it's not zoned. So it's mostly just those areas along the interchanges.
Along the interchanges, so up by Green River and then
Mhm.
Crescent Junction.
Yeah.
et cetera.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
exactly.
Any other questions? All right, we will leave the meeting open then until Wednesday, 5 p.m. on November 12th. Thank you, Mr. Jackson, and we will move into the next public meeting, which is the Waterwise Landscape Ordinance. And again, this one is Mr. Jackson as well.
Yes. So just in plain English, the state has a program where they have a turf buyback program, but in order to be eligible for that, you have to have living turf that then is proved. You get a picture of it, you remove that, and then you can get buyback off of that. And so in order to be eligible for that, the county has to pass a Waterwise landscaping ordinance, which we did, which just amends the area of the code dealing with landscaping. So it's section 6.4.3A is the start of that, but the amendments only come in on part E. And this is just standard template that most all counties in Utah have passed. And then additionally, because this has gone a couple of times before the Planning Commission, Commissioner Clace had some additional recommendations that go into the section related to occupancy. As it was stated before, you can get an occupancy of a dwelling unless you had your landscaping in, but it's not practical to put that in at certain times. So this allows for that to occur, and there'd be like $1,000 cash bond that's refundable for anybody that puts that forward, does landscaping, that can get that back. We had one comment in person. It was after the comment period had closed, but a person in the audience just mentioned that it would be a problem for low-income people to do that $1,000, and you could waive that if you wanted on certain places. A lot of those low-income housing projects are sponsored by state or USDA or whatever, so they have that built in that they will do the landscaping. And that's really, I had the planning commission passed it on with Commissioner Clace's recommendations for those changes. And so that's just incorporated in the third ordinance document that you have, incorporates those actual changes into that. If you'd like to just replace the one with the other, you can do that or modify it whatever you like.
Okay, any questions? All right, we will also leave this public meeting open until 5 p.m. on Wednesday, the 12th as well. And then come back at the next meeting and vote that in. All right, thank you, Mr. Jackson. So we are up to our commission member disclosures and future considerations. We have anybody that? Yes.
I just have a future consideration after attending the EMS budget meeting this morning and having Prop 13 pass. The EMS would like to be true to their word that they would give the PILT money back to the county to disperse. And so I don't know if that's the proper way for them to do it, or I know that I sent an email to Gabe today, and he was concerned if we did that resolution, you know, that it's going to take a little while for that tax revenue to go to them. And so I just wanted to put that out there. And it also, the EMS Special Service District could just donate that money back to the county later on once it came in. So I just wanted to put that as a future consideration, either to we do the resolution for the PILT reallocation, or they would find another way. Which is the easiest. Yeah, which is the easiest and most appropriate.
Yes, Trish, go ahead. Commissioner Hadid.
Spent all of the money that we gave them earlier in the year. Anyways, it's just, you might not know off the top of your head.
Oh, yeah, I know
Okay.
that they still have, they'll end up this year with a little bit, which will help them to make it that low. So it's not all the way gone,
Okay.
but it's gonna help them to get through those first few months where they don't have any money, and then by the end of next year, they'll be good.
I was hoping they hadn't spent it and they could give it. But-
Yeah, it's not all the way gone. I mean, yeah, they'll definitely give back the PILTs.
Okay, no, I appreciate it.
Money, whether we do it through resolution of reallocation or they just donate that back.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
And along those lines, I believe we have to put that on our next agenda, correct? To ratify that vote by the.
That's my understanding.
Stephen, maybe we can ask Stephen.
That is correct.
Or Clerk Roderick.
Okay, so I would love to see that on the next agenda as well.
Yeah, the reallocation or the allocation of funds for that request, I did put that on the next agenda, but I don't know about the acceptance of the vote gave to you. Is that when we do that on next meeting as well?
Yeah, I think we're slated to certify the election next week, which would happen before the next commission meeting. So we line it up on the agenda with the assumption that results will be certified by the time the meeting happens.
Okay. Thank you. Chair, is it appropriate to bring that up now, Gabe, about making a meeting for next Friday?
Yeah, sure, might be a good time.
Could we make a meeting on next Friday to certify the election? Do you guys have an objection to that?
Next Friday is the 7th or the 14th?
The 14th.
Noon time.
No,
I'll be out of, it'll be a short meeting. I'll be out of town.
Very short,
Get on-
very short. And we're not going to be looking at these municipal election results. We're going to be focused on, I mean, we'll there will be an overview of that, but we're going to be focused on the special election. So it will be quite short.
Yeah, you guys would meet as the Board of Canvassers for the Prop 13 election.
At noon.
And that's this Friday at noon.
Next
Friday.
Yeah, we have to do it between 7 and 14 days after the election.
Is that going to be at noon? Next Friday, on the 14th.
Yeah, fine with me. Everybody else thinks that's all right.
And Gabe, what time? Noon?
And
At noon? Okay, good. I'll put it on the calendar right now.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Follow up on all of our comments.
I do.
All right, and then I'm gonna also mention a future consideration that I've already requested that Dana have on the next agenda, and that is, I've been working with the folks that are doing the low-income housing LIHTC program up at the top of Mill Creek. And they have approached the city, and they also approached myself with the county to consider helping fund that. And so there will be a request to utilize the funds out of the housing funds that we set aside to put some money towards that, and then possibly some money out of the payment in lieu of housing fund. And I know, Gabe, you and I talked about that at one time, and I don't know if we ever discussed exactly what was available, but I'm looking to possibly use something out of both of those, and it was tentative. I had a real soft conversation with Jason. They're looking at 150,000, and I thought we would try and match that, so.
Okay.
But we would need to know if that's available out of that payment in lieu fund that we have there, and I think whatever else the balance is on the housing. I think it was 100,000 that was set aside, and I know we've spent 16,000 or something out of that. So if I could, by that next meeting, if we could have those. Yes, Trish.
We have a housing subcommittee. None of this has come to the housing subcommittee. We actually just had a meeting the other day that was quite extensive, discussing those funds. So I'm pretty taken aback by this action. You know, we do have a housing subcommittee, and 3 commissioners are on that subcommittee. And so to me, the appropriate avenue would be to first have this funnel through the housing subcommittee before it ever comes before the commission.
Well, I have it on the next commission meeting, and your comments are duly noted.
I'm just completely taken aback. We have 3 commissioners here that have worked
Because
really hard.
it's helping out some low-income housing, or what's
Because we
taking?
have a housing subcommittee, and we're working on those monies and on a variety of projects and where those monies should be funneled.
Well,
This was never brought to the housing subcommittee.
I think 7 commissioners ran on housing.
It's just a complete disregard for that subcommittee and the 3 commissioners and all the people that work on that
I'll be
subcommittee.
sure and let them know that they disregarded your information, but they made the decision to reach out to me, and here we are. We can have that
Made the
discussion in a commission
These
meeting.
developers, who made the decision to
Those
reach out to
people
you?
that- Yes, the
Developers.
developers on that.
Right, came directly to you, and now you're gonna override the housing subcommittee.
Not overriding anything. We're bringing it up in a meeting, and you'll have time to voice your opinion then, as you are now.
Do either of the other commissioners on that subcommittee want to approach this? Like, to me, it's completely bypassing that subcommittee that we worked very hard on. We're going to allow developers to go directly to one commissioner and bypass the subcommittee and all the people that are working on that subcommittee with us.
Mind you, it's developers that are working on low-income housing.
I know a lot about LIHTC. I know a lot about LIHTC.
Yes, Michael.
Just playing catch up. I have a disclosure. It's gonna be on first responders first. My wife works for the sheriff's department.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I just had a comment, just
Sure.
to your question right there, in that housing subcommittee, there was 360 in fees in lieu of housing that's available, and then there should be about 85 left over in the 100,000 that we put aside last year for housing right there.
Okay.
And there was a small discussion of this project right here at the housing subcommittee.
I have none of that in my notes. I sent out the notes.
I didn't look at the minutes, but we did talk about it with the city, and there was talk at that point of a revolving
Not
loan.
come to the housing subcommittee.
Okay. that was
We
it.
talked about a revolving loan fund. I agree with you, and I'll go through that when we have our commission reports.
Sure.
That is,
Okay,
The attorney has his hand.
yes, Mr. Stocks.
just noting that I would be receiving potential benefits from the First Responders First that's on the commission agenda. It provides mental health and therapy help for individuals that are involved in the child abuse cases. So I just wanted to disclose that.
Thank you, sir. All right, we will move on to the approval of the consent agenda. And we will, let's see, there are no minutes listed for approval. Item A, we will move into B, ratification of payment of bills in the form of $1,335,016.77 with a payroll of $590,108.78, totaling bills and payroll, $1,925,125.55. Let's see, item C, Grand County, City of Moab, 2025 elections, ILA. D, ratification of letter of support for Southeast Utah Regional Development Agency grant application. E is independent contractors agreement. Excuse me, First Responders First. F, First Amendment to contract conflict public defender. G is a ratification of a change order, Finley Productions, Moab's Old Growth for forests filming. And H, award bid for holiday lighting project at the Colorado River Bridge. I, approval of quote for the integration of the Intelcom software, computer-aided dispatch. J, renew crowd riff contract for Moab Office of Tourism. K, ratification of ICA with the Appraisers Incorporated 2026 Commercial Property Appraisal Service. Yes, Commissioner McCurdy.
Move to approve consent agenda as read.
Motion, Commissioner McCurdy, second, Commissioner Hadler, all in favor?
I'm abstaining.
Motion passes 6 with 1 abstention, Commissioner Devine. Moving on to number 7, appoint commissioners to subcommittee for commission administrators annual performance review, Commissioner McCandless.
So in our policies and procedures, I didn't know I was presenting this, but there's a policies and procedures that's from like 2015, and it's talks about doing an appraisal of the administrator, and in that it says that the chair can do it, but if we want to have a subcommittee, then we bring it before the commission. And so I'm recommending that Bill, I, and Jacques be on that subcommittee to not only get together the appraisal of our administrator, but also, you know, send out some surveys and stuff to the director. So
You want that?
Mike, you were first.
Go ahead, Mike.
I move to appoint Commissioner Hadler, Commissioner Winfield, and Commissioner McCandless to a subcommittee for the Commission Administrator's Annual Performance Review.
Motion by Commissioner McCurdy, second,
I'll second.
Commissioner Hadler.
And open up the discussion.
Sure.
Too. Yeah, this is something that I was chair for a few years, and I ran this also. I think it was like Melody said, it's in our policies and procedures. Yeah, it's a heavy responsibility. I don't, you know, I think it's it's standard. I think, yeah, Mary, you've been on the commission much longer than I have, and I think that it happens every year, and you know, I think everyone in the county has a boss, and Mark's boss is us, so I think that gives us the responsibility for that. Also, in the past, yeah, I organized that. I think it was mostly myself as chair, and Trish helped me on that committee with doing the review for, at the time, it was Chris and Mallory, who were the administrators then. And yeah, I took the task seriously. I think it's a good process, and I would definitely defer to the chair to to run the process and to work with Hess in HR should be very helpful. And there are past paradigms that you could look at for how we did that in the previous few years. I think we did kind of the same process every time. But again, I think it is mostly the responsibility of the chair and the vice chair, and I'd be happy to lend any good or institutional knowledge.
Your help would be duly appreciated. And Mike?
My question is actually to Stephen Stocks. Is it okay saying names in that motion, or should I have went with positions? Chair, vice chair, and Commissioner Hadley.
I think the point is taken across. I think commissioners understand which commissioners you guys are suggesting.
Okay.
I think that's clear. I tend to refer to all commissioners by commissioner and then last name. But you guys could theoretically do it via roles, but I think it gets confusing after chair and the vice chair.
Leave it as stands. Thanks.
Further discussion? Seeing none, I will call for a vote. Those in favor of the motion by Commissioner McCandless, seconded by Commissioner Hadler. Motion passes 6 with 1 abstention, Commissioner Hadeen, and we will move on to number 8, the ordinance high density housing overlay, County Attorney Stocks.
So this is the throwback to the original HDHO approval that was passed on July 1st by the commission. There was a verbose motion that was proposed. That motion required us to go to legal review. Bart did the full legal review on this. He reviewed all the items in this packet, provided it back. We tried to provide enough information in the agenda summary and background to kind of bring the public up to speed as to where we're at. Those adjustments and changes have been consolidated into Exhibit A to Ordinance 720. The recommended motion is within the document. Again, this is the motion that passed previously. We put in the minutes in the packet as well, and the clean version and the red line version. And so that's all put together there for the commissioners for your review. This is from the attorney's office, their review or our review of all of the documents to make it consistent with the motion that was passed back in July. Oh, and then one additional note. How this passes, it's still a decision up to the commissioners to vote however they'd like. Just because this conforms with what the commissioners intended from the last meeting doesn't mean that you all would have to approve it. So there is still agency there. So I don't know if I've made it clear enough, but this is putting into effect what you folks have previously voted on per the majority.
We're just, for clarification, we're just voting on a cleaned up version of what we previously voted on. Is that my understanding?
You're voting to approve the revised Exhibit A to Ordinance 720, which does complete what the commission originally had intended with the previous motion and ordinance and the review of those documents. But instead of redoing the entire ordinance, we're affixing an Exhibit A to that document and making amendments there.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner McCurdy.
I'd like to make a motion. I move to approve the clean copy of the revised Exhibit A to Ordinance 720, consistent with the approved motion made at the July 1st, 2025 meeting for the reasons stated by the county attorney's office.
Motion by Commissioner McCurdy, second Commissioner McCandless. Further discussion? Seeing none, I will call for a vote. Those in favor? Those opposed? Motion passes 5-2 with 2 opposed, Commissioner Hadeen, Commissioner McGann. And we will move on to number 9, the ordinance for the major utility overlay of parcel 02-0021-0113, City of Moab, Mr. Yates, County Engineer.
Sean Yates, County Engineer. This item was approved by the commission in the last meeting on October 21st. However, the most up-to-date ordinance was not included in the agenda at that time. So as such, the proposed zone amendment is to apply the major utility overlay and UO to approximately 3 acres, specifically the parcel in question. So that's it.
Thank you, sir. And looking for a motion, Commissioner McCandless.
I make a motion to approve the updated ordinance for the major utility overlay.
Motion by Commissioner McCandless,
Second.
second by Commissioner Martinez. Further discussion? Seeing none, I will call for a vote. Those in favor of the motion by Commissioner McCandless. Those opposed? Motion passes 5-2 with Commissioner Hadeen and Commissioner McGann against. We will then move on to resolution releasing the maintenance bond for the Arawara subdivision. Mr. Yates, our county engineer again.
So the 1-year warranty period for the portion of the improvements to be accepted by the county began on October 1st, 2024. And such that the warranty collateral was to be held by the county until October 1st, 2025. So this is to authorize the complete release of the remaining bond amount in the amount of $4,516.40.
Okay, Commissioner McCurdy.
Two-part, first, Gabe, should I include the amount?
And it's clear in the record.
Okay. I'd like to make the motion. I move to approve the resolution releasing the remaining bond for the Arawara subdivision.
Motion by Commissioner McCurdy, second Commissioner McGann. Further discussion? Seeing none, I will call for a vote. Those in favor of the motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Yates. We move on to the resolution amending the Economic Opportunity Advisory Board bylaws. Commissioner McCandless.
So we took this back to the Economic Opportunities Advisory Board last week and had a nice discussion about the bylaws, and we're able to come to a happily approved, what was added in there is that they would be a resource to our staff. And so that was something that seemed like everyone was in favor of, and it does move the board down from 9 to 7 people. And so in the recommended motion, I have those specific things listed out. I'd also like to have this go into effect on December 31st because we do have 2 outgoing board members that I don't want to exclude them by the end of the year. And so that's why that is there. And I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has. But it is a little revised. It's going to be the version 2.4 is the one that was revised after the meeting. The 2.2 is the one that I was proposing at the last meeting.
I have a question. So question, is that okay? Did the board make a formal recommendation, whether they approved it or didn't approve it?
They didn't. No, Chris, the chair didn't call for a vote or anything.
Okay.
Commissioner McCurdy.
I move to approve the resolution of the Economic Opportunities bylaws as presented and to take effect on December 31st, 2025.
We do ask every all.
These changes will affect the makeup of the board, whereas voting membership will be represented in this way, listed below. Open voting representative from a representative from the municipality in Grand County. Commission admin, a voting member, Grand County representative. Ashley Kornblatt, a voting workforce development representative. Aaron Lindberg, a voting member of the public who lives in Grand County. Brittany Melton, a voting member of the public who lives in the county. Randy Martin, a voting member appointed by Moab Area Chamber of Commerce. Chris Wilson, voting private sector representative.
Motion Commissioner McCurdy, second Commissioner McCandless. Further discussion, Commissioner Hadeen.
Yeah, I'm not gonna vote for this, Mel. I do, Commissioner McCandless, I really appreciate that you did go back to the board, so I want to state that, but I am not gonna vote for it because again, I don't think there was any need to manipulate these bylaws. I think the current bylaws give that board flexibility to give input on economic development within the county, and so I just didn't see the need to, again, rattle that cage, so.
The attorney does have his hand up.
Sure, County Attorney, and then I'll get to you, Commissioner Hadley.
A few points of clarification or question. When we went through and removed those board members, did you guys go back through and look at staggering the number of people that were appointed each year to make sure we have kind of an even turnover each time we went? Yes, okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Hadler.
A couple questions. What are the two positions that will be terming out at the end of the year?
So Forrest Rogers,
Oh, yeah.
because he wasn't planning on
Right.
he would be a voting member of the public. He lives in the county.
Yep.
And then the other one is Jasmine Duncan, and so
Yeah.
she's leaving the board as well, but her position will be open. That's the open position.
Okay.
And then Melissa Jeffers' position was the other open position, and of
she's-
course, it's not filled at all. So she's part of, the advisory part of the board. So it's just really allowing the changes being effective on December 31st is allowing Jasmine and Forrest to continue out the rest of the year, which they were planning on anyways, and then it would just be looking for that person. In that we did, because it is a voting representative from a municipality in the county, and that was Jasmine from Castle Valley. We did ask Jasmine to go back to Castle Valley, so it would be either an elected member or a member or someone that works for the city of Castle or the township of Castle Valley. And so she was gonna go back and ask there and see if there was anyone that was interested in taking that position. And then if not, then we'll switch that over to the city. So and reach out to probably the mayor and the city council. And then they'll recommend someone. So it won't really even be a board decision. I think it'd be more either the Castle Valley or Moab City's decision on who they would choose to go in that position. I mean, we could always, we'll have the ultimate say for sure, but that's the way that we're going about asking for that position to be filled.
Yeah, makes sense. I appreciate you going back also and speaking with the board. I think that's great. And I've heard some of the board members and they were also appreciative of the efforts to take it back and make it a better discussion. I'll vote for it. But I do think that we have an opportunity with this board to we have some really good people on there, really good ideas, some pros, and I think once everything kind of settles out next year, we'll see how it goes. But I still think that going forward, maybe next year or the year after that, it'd be worth revisiting this and making that board a little bit more, I guess you could say, robust.
Yeah, and if I continue to be the liaison for that board or whoever's there, that's definitely something that we talked about, and I'm open to that, and as well as any other liaison that might be on that board to finish the RCG and RCOG grants and make that really duplicatable and complete and the best in class for the counties. And because right now we don't have that in there, so if they can focus on that, and then once they do that, they can prioritize what the next plan of attack will be, and we can go back and revise the bylaws at that point in time.
Commissioner McCann.
Yes.
Dan, sorry.
I'm gonna vote no, but I do appreciate what Melody did, and I've talked to various board members and they appreciated it too. They really appreciated it, but they were also not, they weren't totally happy with the results, and I felt it was a pretty functional board before.
Attorney has his hand up. Yeah.
Yes, County Attorney.
Just one other note, and the commission can disregard this thought. We don't have very many boards that we specifically give first preference to Castle Valley for. I don't know if that's something that the commission would like to include in the bylaws. It does just state one representative of a municipality in the county. If it's the intent to allow Castle Valley the first opportunity for that, it doesn't really say it in the bylaws. And so you could put that language in, and if they disagreed or if they didn't have somebody to appoint it, perhaps go to the city. But this is a nuance. There's very few boards. I think the only other board that I know of is the Boundary subcommittee that has a permanent board from Castle Valley. There's just not as many. Just noting it, I put that thought out there for the commission to think about.
Yes, Commissioner McGann.
The solid waste also has a person from Castle Valley, and they found it very difficult to fill. Just for your, I mean, it was, in fact, we're talking about making it so that it could be Castle Valley or the greater, the San Juan section, because they use the solid waste services. So to extend it to that part of the county and Castle Valley so that we're not always fighting to get that position filled. So, I'm just not sure if that's helpful, but we find Castle Valley's small and sometimes people don't want to.
Another board that I sit on when it requires participation from municipalities is when the board seat comes up, then it changes to another municipality. It flip-flops back and forth. So there's all kinds of options there, but I'm fine with it as it is unless the county attorney wants to change something. Now,
Yeah, it has a liaison. The Moab City has a liaison position in this. So we could put in there to reach out to Castle Valley first if we wanted that to be ongoing. But I mean, as it is right now, the board, Jasmine's leaving, so it's just like, yeah, reach out to Castle Valley first. Just kind of made sense, but I mean, I'm open to putting that in there. I don't know.
It could handcuff you.
Yeah, it would have to be like a first choice and then you just go to the city, but
I just had a quick question. Was there any other changing of the positions? So did anybody else move around?
well, yeah, because the bylaws were, there was 2 members of the public and there was 2 members of the private sector, maybe? But they did move around a little bit. The private state statute, it's everything a bit of state statute. And allowing the Moab Chamber of Commerce in there, so that's not in state statute, but we left that in there. So that basically is taking one of the private sector representatives. So some of them did move around as far as their official, what they're representing, but really the private sector and a person that lives in the public and the county are kind of interchangeable.
further discussion? Seeing none, I will call for a vote on the motion by Commissioner McCready, by Commissioner McCandless. All in favor? Those opposed? Motion passes 5-2 with Commissioner Hedin and Commissioner McGann against. Moving on to number 12, adopting the 2026 tentative budget. Mr. Wojtek.
This is more or less just a formality to kick off the budget season, and will ultimately surely be lengthy discussion about modifications that would be made at your will to this presented budget.
Yes, Commissioner McCandless.
I move to adopt the 2026 tentative budget as presented.
Motion by Commissioner McCandless, second by Commissioner McGann. Further discussion? Seeing none, I will call for a vote. Those in favor? Passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Wojtek. And we will move on to our general reports. Seeing as we have time, we will start with the commission reports, and rather than just leave them unread, I'll start on my side and read our way around to the other side. A couple of meetings. Let's see, I start off with, we've been in multiple budget advisory board meetings. Commissioner Hedin, Commissioner Hadler, Commissioner Martinez, I'm sorry, and myself. Let's see, I was also in the meeting with that I mentioned previously regarding the low-income housing and the LIHTC program. Also in a meeting with council member Taylor regarding that. Also up at CERTA I participated in the tripartite board meeting, which oversees the food bank. And the TANF funds, also the RLF board meeting, the revolving loan fund, as well as the Economic Development Executive Board meeting and the Southeastern Community Action Partnership. Also participated in the ORI ranking committee. There was approximately 4.5 million in grant money that was different projects that applied for, and we ranked those in an order of which we thought were most fundable as they stand and shovel ready. Also, a brief update from the Kempsey Gardner Institute. And really the majority update was based around the fact that they are several weeks behind and doing everything they can to try and still have us some information in December. I also attended the airport board meeting, and the Utah Film Commission meeting, and then I have updated Commissioner Hadler, but I was also part of a couple of different meetings out at Mud Springs that involved UDOT, San Juan County roads, and Grand County, meaning myself. And so where that kind of is that UDOT is in the process of trying to bring right of way up to Mud Springs from the Pack Creek cutoff rather than exiting off of the highway at the bottom of the hill. And they have an estimate for that exit at the bottom of the hill of about 3.4 million. And they feel that it would be better money spent to move it down to Pack Creek, which already has turn lanes to get on and off of the highway. And then they would somewhat follow a power line easement, provided all of the entities that are involved in that are in agreement with it. There would be the access up there. And San Juan County through, I don't remember the gentleman's last name, his first name is Todd, and Lori Mon, Commissioner Mon. They are also working to try and open up and improve the road that exits off at the top of the hill. And I don't know what that's called, but you would be able to come down to Mud Springs from the top on what's basically the old highway alignment. And so it's still passable. What is it?
Black Ridge.
Off on the left.
Is there a go for Blackwood?
So you would be able to exit at Pack Creek cutoff, or if you're coming the other direction, come down the hill from the Black Ridge cutoff or the turnoff there. And so they're in the process of seeing what that's going to take to open up and the kind of money that it's going to involve. And so between the two of them, there was also, I forgot to mention, Sitla was a part of the conversation, and Sitla wants to work with the BLM when they open back up to do a recreation lease for what would be the parking area for these NICA events. And I think Jacques said they need like 10 acres for a state
10 acres
event and basically 20 acres for a state. So that's all kind of in the process. There's still, UDOT hopes to have that right of way open by spring, and they've had multiple meetings and surveyors out there, and they seem to be moving along and eager to do something. So that was the end of my report.
Okay, so I just want to start with URC, which is the Utah Renewable Communities. It's the largest. They ask us to present to our commissions and let them know what's going on. So there's 4 different pieces in the packet. One is just a memo that talks about the Utah Renewable Communities, which I think is really great because this whole year I've been going to monthly meetings and really trying to put it all together. And I think that Emily, who is the secretary, put this together and did a really good job of explaining what is Utah Renewable Communities, what are we trying to accomplish, who's in it, and so there's that, and then there's the low income plan, which once this passes, that we will actually have a active participation between Castle Valley, the city of Moab, and Grand County in putting the word out for the low income, and it's got the plan in there, and then the slides it walks through as well. So I think the most important is if you go to slide 12 on the Utah Renewable Communities Update slide. And it's in the packet, it's got my name on it. So number 12 is just basically the follow-up of what's coming up. So you have the PSC hearing and public quiz hearing that's on December 16th. You can zoom into that. They're encouraging participation. And then as the approval is come as early as January, then we need to we have a 90-day window to consider the program ordinance, and our communities can't be involved with this if we don't do this ordinance. So there's also a sample ordinance. It's the draft model ordinance 01-2025, which is just a generic ordinance for us to implement if this does pass in January. So I just wanted to give an update, and I would take questions, even though I'm not an expert at this. If anyone had some questions on the URC. But there's lots of information. I think they did a really good job.
I don't have so much as a comment, but it's nice to see something moving, because this project has been in the works. How many years?
Since 2019.
Yes, since 2019. I remember the first meeting, and it's very complicated, and I'm sure that's why it's taken so long, but it's nice to see that it's finally moving forward. So thank you for your work on it.
Yeah, and then just some other comments from, if anybody didn't have any other questions on URC. So just other things that I've been busy doing, lots of trail ambassador meetings, just sorting out their needs and helping Anna maneuver through getting the nonprofit. They've got their EIN number set up, they're getting a bank account. So they're moving along with the process. They have their board of directors set up, really good. Anna's a go-getter, and I look forward to bringing that to a commission meeting in the future with us being able to help them out. Possibly we'll see with the budget. And then I've had also a 3-entity meeting with EMS, fire, and healthcare special service districts talking about the needs of each. I met with Jen Sadoff at the hospital to talk to her about the DISH payment funding, which comes from the Canyonlands Healthcare Special Service District. I also met with the accountant for the Canyonlands Healthcare Special Service District to understand their budget and needs a lot more. And I also am doing the Utah Rural Leadership Academy. We're in our 7th week of that. It's every Wednesday, and I'm really learning a lot. We've had Representative Celeste Malloy come and talk. We've had representatives from AOGs up north. Not ours is third up north. Today we had Speaker of the House present and talk, and it's question and answer. It's a really small group. I'm really enjoying it. I'm learning a lot, and I think being able to put it into practice, the commission and my value is really good. So today we had an EMS budget meeting, and it was really good because Prop 13 passed, and so we'll be able to reinstate some of the staff sets and programming, training, equipment that they haven't had in years. And that's all.
And if you don't mind, I want to thank Mel again, or Commissioner McCandless. I thanked her today, but she did a lot of work on that proposition, and I appreciate it. It'll help the county out also. So thank you. Help our budget out for next year for sure.
Commissioner Martinez.
Perfect. So I'm gonna start off with something in the future. On November 10th, we're gonna have the Moab Office of Tourism is gonna have a community open house. That'll be at Josie Wyatt's from 5 to 7 on the 10th, November 10th. But all commissioners are invited, as well as the community. And so this is part of the branding project right here. That's being held by Camp 4, and it's one of the Porch Light series where people can go in and talk about what's important to them in the community. The Utah Office of Tourism will be here. Our agency of record, Madden, will be here, and also our PR agency, Camp Stories. So this is an opportunity for the community to come out and see what the Moab Office of Tourism has been up to this year, which is quite a bit. Let's see here, going back in the past, October 22nd, I was in a housing subcommittee via Zoom, and that was with Commissioner Hedin and Commissioner Mike McNarty. Yeah, I always get them all confused.
Feels weird.
Yeah, it does seem weird. Anyways, yeah, when we discussed our goals for the subcommittee there. On the 23rd, I came in and met one of the candidates for the planning commission. I missed the one on the 22nd with Andrew there. And then also had an Arches SSD meeting. At that Arches SSD meeting, we discussed GWISA's interest in the sewer system up there. So how that would kind of play out. And then we also discussed the status of their discharge permit that they have into the Colorado. On October 24th, I was part of the UAC Public Lands Council meeting, and we discussed HB 48, which is a discussion on the WUI properties. And
Which properties?
WUI Wilderness, yeah, the properties that are about.
Wildland urban interface.
Yeah, wildland urban interface, yeah. Perfect. And there's a lot of questions being asked right now about when that assessment needs to be done and where those fees are gonna land at. And you know, the classification of the high-risk properties. And let's see here, it looks like there's gonna be $2 to $4 million that's gonna be required to support that program right now. So there's quite a bit of interest in folks. I don't know how many properties we have here. That would be a question for the assessor that kind of abut that. But I know in a lot of other counties, it's definitely a high priority. Let's see here. I was at the Budget Advisory Board, and then we had the Film Commission, Moab Office of Tourism, and the Public Defender that day. And then on the 27th, I was at the Planning and Zoning meeting. We had a public hearing on the Waterwise landscape ordinance, which we just opened up here today, and also the sign ordinance. We had one public comment there from a past, what is that?
Katie Murphy.
Yeah, Katie Murphy, but her position previous was
I think she was just a Vista. I shouldn't say just, she was a Vista.
she was a Vista, yeah, and had put some work into that. And so she had some things to say on the landscape ordinance, which I would imagine that we would look into when we actually look at the entire override of the land use code. And then we also discussed the agricultural ordinance. And I think that we'll be seeing some of that a little bit later on. And then also discuss the water element of the general plan that'll be required by the state of Utah. And how we're going to be putting that back together, or incorporating that into our general plan. Also on that, and I just talked with Andrew about that, but I did bring that up at another meeting, which was at the Southeastern Advisory Council for the Colorado River Authority. And one of the suggestions there is to talk to Doug Bennett out in Washington County, just for all the great work that he's done incorporating the water element into their plan down there. He did a lot of the work out there in Las Vegas, and then he was acquired by Washington County, and he's doing down there from what I've heard. Let's see here, and then we also discussed that we were gonna move the MFR 45 to the next meeting, and we would be looking for a public hearing in a month. And there was also some discussion about having a larger community outreach on that right there before moving it in. Just so folks know, it would be nice to see this get finished by fourth quarter of 2026. So that's the timeline that we're trying to look to see to get an answer on this right here. October 28th, I had a special events meeting with MTAB members. And what we're trying to do is put together the application for that $250,000 matching marketing grant that we approved a couple of meetings ago. And so they've gone ahead and Cora did a bunch of work taking the old application that we had and turning it into a Google form. And hopefully we'll have some more information on where that will be hosted and how folks can find out, if they qualify for those grants and what the process is going to look like. Let's see here, what else I've got. Let's see here. Oh, on the 29th, Commissioner McCurdy and Commissioner Hadler, and we met with the Division of Outdoor Recreation and discussed the motorized trail crew and kind of went through that MOU and looked at the possibilities of how that'll work. We did receive a response back on that of the state's preferred method for that MOU, and we'll be bringing that up to the commission at the next meeting. Do you guys got something you want to throw in about that or over here? No, I thought it was great.
Moving right along.
It was a good meeting and everything went pretty well.
Seemed like it was received well.
Yeah, I think everybody has the same idea that we just want to see some work done on some of our motorized trails now.
Yeah.
Let's see here, on the 30th, I was at the housing subcommittee, which was discussed earlier. We discussed what our steps are moving forward. And some of the things that we talked about is funding additional positions, a revolving loan program, and how we could use the fees that we've collected already and keep those in perpetuity moving on. And then we also discussed the county properties that might fit into future programs, new programs. And then also the needs of the county to complete the pipeline study. And that was part of that 15,000 that we authorized out of that. And they're going to need some, not GIS data, but they're going to need some.
iWorks data.
What's that?
iWorks.
iWorks, that's it right there. iWorks data from that, to complete that study right there. The city, when that ended up going through, the city ended up just providing the data and then said that was basically an in-kind contribution. So if you guys remember, it was originally going to be a match to where the county put in this and then the city put in this. And they have said that their contribution was the data that they provided, and it was going to be an in-kind contribution. Let's keep moving on. The 31st, I was at another budget advisory meeting and kicked off the weekend. November 3rd, I was at the Southeastern Advisory Council for the Colorado River Authority. That was a really interesting meeting. The interim guidelines, the self-proposed or deadline is going to be November 11th. So we're coming right on up for where those negotiations are supposed to be at. And right now it looks like we're just coming to a point where the upper basin is coming to a point where they can agree on something. So it's looking, there's some positives, but I also don't know. I don't see the reality of if the upper basin is just coming up with what we can agree on, how the upper basin and the lower basin are going to come together
Right.
and put something together here by November 11th.
Yeah.
That's really the first deadline. The next deadline will actually be in February, which they're going to need to have a plan in place by February for how they're going to manage the two reservoirs. So that's going to be the next big the deadline that they have. How that comes through, I don't know, but what we are looking at though is the possibility of the Bureau of Rec taking it. So that is a real possibility of if the upper basin and the lower basin cannot come together with an alternative right now, the Bureau of Rec is going to say what the alternative is. So we are looking at that, and that is a little bit scary. I mean, you want to have as much say as you can in something like that and have as much local control put inside of that. And then also, we're also looking at the end of 2026, there could be a call on the Colorado Compact. So the way that the basin, the Colorado Compact is written, which is really neat. It was great that they gave us a copy of the Colorado Compact. And I always thought it was this huge document because there's all these things. It's 3 pages. Like it's amazing that, the Colorado River is 3 pages. And the 4th page is just a signatory page. We need to send down 750 million acre feet over a 10-year period, right? And so if we can't send that down, then we would be in breach of the Colorado Compact. And so we kind of went over in that, what does that look like? How does that actually play out? And, because I mean, it's like, there's this fear of what happens if it gets, if we become in breach of this contract right now. And it was a really interesting meeting, kind of going through those scenarios and how it would play out. A couple of things is, first the lower basin would send letters basically to each of the upper basin states. Hey, you got to send down some water. And I was like, really, that's kind of where it starts off. And then you would have your lawsuit that would start from there. And the lawsuit, I mean, it would be very expensive, right? Because you're going to have, not only you're going to have the arguments between the upper and the lower basin, but you would also have arguments for, I'm just trying to kill time there, guys. We
You're way too
We don't have to wait now then.
We don't have to wait till 6. Okay, yeah. Anyways, it was really interesting seeing how it all play out. But you know, the feds would take in, you'd have a lawsuit, and in the interim, the Bureau of Reclamation would take over operations of the Colorado River in that interim. That lawsuit could look at, like, we're looking at a 20-year lawsuit or something like that. It would be very expensive to, you know, the state of Utah and the Southwest in general. So something that it's
The most endangered river in the United States.
so we're sure into, yeah. And then we kind of went through some of our 2026 recommendations that advisory council would provide to the Colorado River Board. And then on that day as well, I went to the Noxious Weed Board and they approved 2 new board members.
Hey,
And they talked about some of the work that they completed up on Labyrinth Canyon and Westwater Canyon. So a lot of Russian thistle, or no, I'm sorry, Russian olives. Russian olives that they've gone through.
It got me a few times. All right, Commissioner McGann.
17 minutes.
17 minutes.
I thought we had to make it till 6.
No, I don't. The end
I'm gonna set a timer.
of the month is always slow for me, and the one meeting I was looking forward to and excited about, steering committee for the UMP project canceled because it was shut down. And the celebration we've been planning for the 3rd to celebrate our final tile being moved is canceled as well. There's no way to get it organized and when and if the shutdown happens. And but the one thing I did work on is I was even working yesterday, calling people and encouraging them to vote yes on the proposition. And it's going to not only help our, you know, those 3 entities, it's going to help us a lot. I was really happy for our budget and for all of their budgets, and it was a significant win. I was afraid right till the end, and it was, you know, 2-1. So I was very happy. I thought all our hard work paid off. So that's my report.
Commissioner McCurdy. I'm gonna let the rest of you guys talk about meetings. I was there with you. The one I didn't have anyone with me. Had a meeting with Angela Book and OSTA staff. Patty Jones, Barbara Hicks, and Barbara Crossan. Thank you. Of the Moab Friends Pickleball. Yeah. Just updates. Thank you for pulling that picture up. The project is moving along. It's coming up. The small hiccup right now is some dirt work. Mark was actually on that today. Just moving along to get the dirt work started, hopefully in a week or 2, and see progress. But I brought this picture from that meeting that's going to show this is the playground side. You can see the pickleball courts on the left there. There were some talks about wants from the pickleball community, but I'm really happy to see this thing. I mean, we voted on it and it's moving forward. Not at the speed of usual government. So I like to see that.
is that you, Mike, in that big?
Yeah,
chair?
that's me in that big chair. No. That's just a normal chair. It's just a normal chair.
I was on a lot of meetings that have already been discussed, especially the Melody and I've been on 3 trail investor working groups since our last commission meeting, and I think Melody went over those well, and we'll actually be working on getting a contract going next week that we should be able to bring to the commission at one of the soon future meetings. But just again, Anna's a go-getter. She's this has been a really compressed time schedule for doing all this, and she's been hitting all her deadlines very well, and she's got something important for us every single week. So that group's been really productive, and I appreciate everyone's work and collaboration on that. Mike mentioned the meeting with Jason Curry and others from the DOR about the motorized trail crew. Yeah, that was a good meeting. Interesting. We're going to talk about that at our next meeting, I believe. And I went out to the non-motorized trail master plan final TAC meeting, the advisory board meeting there. And we reviewed the process. There was robust public engagement. It's great collaboration with folks from the city as well. They helped pay for the study and hope to bring that to the commission soon. I think it has to go through the planning commission for approval first, and then it'll come here. If we don't get it in here by the end of the year, then I think we have to make an amendment to the contract for the grant. That paid for that to be the great planning product that they came up with is awesome. You guys will get to see it soon, and hopefully we'll get that through. And then let's see. Then at Mud Springs a couple times. Actually, we did a collaborative trail work day with the NICA team and with GCAT. And that brings up another sad note on that crew was Fred Wilkinson, who was a stalwart of the NICA trail crew for the last, not NICA, the county trail crew for the last 6 years, and a great local guy. He was an amazing trail builder, and he was found deceased. It was yesterday morning. So he'll be very much missed by GCAT and the community. I've known Fred for 25 years, probably not super well, but it was pretty shocking thing. So rest in peace, Fred, and best wishes to any of his family members out there. Yeah, and I think Fred was just an awesome example of GCAT and the work that they do. He literally contributed to almost every one of the single track trails that have been built here in the last 10 years. And he was a master with rock work. People knew him as the guy who was really good at some of our kind of iconic trail spots. Like, for example, Hawks Glide. There's that, I don't know if you guys have done it, but there's a really cool, gnarly rock section that comes down that looked like it was impossible to put a trail through. And they managed to squeeze one through with a whole lot of manipulation and rock work. It's right up at the Porcupine Stock Tank trailhead. It comes down. It's a incredible piece of engineering that he was a big part of that. So yeah, that's the ending, I guess. But yeah, best of luck to Fred's.
Okay, on October, you done?
Yeah.
Please. On October 22nd, I met with Brandon Black. We're still working on dark skies, slowly but surely. The goal right now is to shield approximately 47 streetlights throughout the valley. He's got a quote from Rocky Mountain Power. It'd be like $210 per piece. Basically, they're the most significant violators of light pollution. And so the objective is we do have a little bit of money, and then I was going to scratch together the remainder of your 2 travel budgets to see if we could get those shielded. And then the other big piece, and this I will not even touch in 26, but maybe in 27, is really the county should be leading kind of dark skies if we want other people to become dark sky compliant. And so we really need to think about retrofitting county facilities to be dark sky compliant. As Brian and Mike mentioned, we had a brief housing subcommittee on the 22nd, and I'll talk about, and that was to kind of go over the larger subcommittee that we had I think it was like a week later. But the goal was to make sure that we encompassed the main players. And so we invited Caitlin Myers, Ben Riley, Aaron Lindbergh, Tony Mancuso, and Stephen Stocks to that second subcommittee. On the 23rd, I actually met with Michael Black, the city manager, and the cemetery sexton. And the objective was, the cemetery would really like that property. It belongs to the city of Moab. They'd really like it deeded to the cemetery. The city is not having it, which is fine. But, Michael just assured Robert that the city has no plans, to do anything with those properties. And so Robert Buckingham's going to move forward with engineering and mapping out that second portion of that cemetery so that it's actually it has water lines in it already. And so you go through an engineering firm to map out the future grave sites. And then that way it'll kind of be set in stone. I went to both the planning and zoning director candidate meet and greets I've gone to 2 budget advisory committees in the interim. I thought you did a great job, Brian, talking about the planning commission. I don't think I have anything to really add there. I had a bunch of stuff. With the housing subcommittee, when we did meet, Stephen gave us an update on HDHO, which we talked about tonight. Ben and Caitlin gave us the update on the housing study. And again, Brian, you did a good job on that. The one thing I will say is that we asked, and I sent out an email, I think yesterday, to Quinn that, you know, Corey and Joanna from the city do need data from the county's iWorks. So hopefully they can utilize Lisa Sinisteros to get that data. And then that way they can start putting together those final, you know, what we're looking for. We did talk about plans for the expenditure of 85K. Do we build a revolving loan fund? How do we grow that revolving loan fund? We did discuss, we already talked about county properties and maybe city properties. You know, the city has their public works, which is kind of like prime housing property, and could they possibly move and jerry rig that? We talked a little bit about MFR 45, and I appreciate that, Brian. We talked a little bit about, like, yes, we really need to encompass the public, because when we went with the high density housing overlay, there was a tremendous amount of public input to go to that type of density. And so it was a recommendation from Ben Riley that we do that same procedure if we want to see higher density within this community. Couple advisory, like I said, budget advisories. And then last night I went to, or 2 nights ago, to the mosquito abatement. They really had a mellow year because these later rains, you know, larval production is basically gone. One thing that they are in desperate with those rains came lots of leaks. So the problem with their facility, and we have talked about that facility for a long time, is, you know, it's not just leaking into where maintenance, it's leaking into the offices. And of course you have computers and you have all this biological testing equipment. And so I said, so I reached out to Chantel and admin to say, I understand we have a capital improvements list. I really think Sean, to me, and I'm just stating this, I'm not asking for discussion. Sean should be the one to really assess the, you know, those needs and like prioritize them, because he understands them, right? Like we all have our own preferences as to where we want to see money go. But I think some of these facilities are in way worse shape than others, right? And we really need to prioritize them on need. So anyways, that place is, it's struggling. It has been for a long time. And just kind of a quick number on mosquito larvae, and they put out traps. In 25, they collected like 7,000 mosquitoes, and in 24, 30,000, just so you get an idea of the difference in mosquito production, larva production. And then the last thing I'll say, just future considerations. I would ask, so I did ask Caitlin, and the city tabled this idea when those developers came to the city for money for the LIHTC project, because the city felt that it was imperative that they create a policy for a revolving loan fund. I would ask the same. I think that here's the deal. We've already given away a big chunk of money to the airport that in theory was supposed to be a loan. We still I've not seen the loan documents on that. I've seen no documentation as to how we're going to get paid. Is there interest involved? And I think, you know, we should see that. So in this case, if we have these pockets of money, I really think we need to capitalize on that money. There is no need to give it away. I think if we come up with a revolving loan fund, we can reconvene with the housing subcommittee, push through some kind of idea with a revolving loan fund and put it out there, you know. But I think there's no reason for us to give that money away. We want to put it out in a loan where we'll actually get some return on those monies. I think that's something that would be wise, especially in the budget pickle that we are moving into in 26. So I'm just going to throw that out. I'll reach out to you too and talk about that farther.
All right.
Have any,
Mr. Stocks, if you want to give him a chance?
oh yeah, Commissioner, County Attorney Stocks, please, if you have something.
Yep, got a couple updates for you folks. Number one, please mark your calendars for the CJC open house that will be on November 14th. It will be at 2473 Vista Grand Street. Time starts at 3 o'clock for the ribbon cutting with an open house to follow through 6 p.m. So again, November 14th, and that's going from 3 until 6 p.m. So all commissioners are invited, encouraged to attend. There should be individuals from the Attorney General's office and other individuals that are donating funds, and I don't want to ruin their thunder. The event's made possible through the generous support of the Friends of the Grand County Children's Justice Center. No taxpayer funds are utilized for this event. Additionally, the commissioners and board members, committees, everybody else in between will be getting a memo from my office later this month. Just a reminder about how we conduct meetings in an open and transparent way. A reminder to commissioners that, and anybody that's in those meetings, no texting, no passing notes during those meetings. So that memo will come out and everybody will get a copy. It will be circulated with any of the departments and any of the entities that have meetings. For my last week right now, I'm at the Utah Misdemeanor Prosecutor Association meeting, and then next week I've got a training as well for the recovery court that's done every year. This week I attended the Domestic Violence Coalition meeting. That's with the judges and prosecutor's office. We talked a bit about having more involvement from commissioner levels. A lot of times I think commissioners and other electeds don't really see the sphere of law enforcement and the number of cases that we have in this community. We're talking about, potentially requesting a commissioner or city council member to join those meetings because it's kind of a different world that law enforcement prosecution lives in, and it seems different from that of the commissioners and city council members at times. They're very different. Additionally, I assisted the assessor. There were some appeals that we had for a hearing officer for Lions Back and another location as well. And so I think that's everything that I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Stocks. Admin, anything you would like to add to the mix?
Just Tom admin is fairly busy at this point. There's a lot going on. We are in the process of hiring a couple of department heads. So those processes are ongoing, and hopefully we'll have a decision on those really soon.
Good.
Good to hear. Good to hear. All right. Mr. Hall? All right, with that, I will move to citizens to be heard. If there's anybody in the audience, we normally hold this at 6 p.m. We're a little early tonight. Everybody can go home early, or anybody want to speak up? Anybody online? All right, with that, I will adjourn this meeting at 5:37. Thank you, everyone.